Hey, Sooner football fans. In today's episode, we got a treat for you. Tattoo Baker comes over and hangs out with us, and we talk Sooner football. This is part one of our visit with Tattoo Baker. In this episode, Tattoo tells us how Tattoo Baker started, and we talk everything from Baker Mayfield to the Sooner defense. Remember, Sooner football fans is not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma, but we do have eligibility rights. Boomer. Hello, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner football fans podcast. You got myself, Terry, Rob, and Caleb here. Boomer, Rob.
Boomer, Terry.
Boomer, Caleb.
Boomer.
And we have our very special guest in the studio, the room today, or whatever we want to call it. This is our second official guest, but first official fan that we've had on. And we've got the famous
I would say famous
Tattoo Baker on. Boomer Tattoo.
Boomer.
So what's going on, man? So what's happening? First off, everybody knows about you. You've been on other shows and things like that. Kind of give us a background how you got started.
So what happened was a crazy fan named Cody got a tattoo of Baker Mayfield after he retweeted it and got the mustache. I grabbed it. Another crazy man I am. I grabbed it and put it on a GIF with Baker Mayfield dancing when he first came to OU. And then I put it on a couple other things and just caught fire. Cody approved it to make a Twitter, and it just caught fire from there. But I just kept hammering out more funny material, and that's pretty much how Baker came about.
So I love your YouTube stuff. You do a lot of parodies. You pull stuff off the internet and slam it together. What's your, is it just something that you find hilarious that you've got to do, or or your Texas stuff is great, by the way. Anything to do with Texas.
Really, it's spur of the moment. If it's funny, if it makes sense, then definitely I'll put it together quick. And that's, with media today, it's not funny 5 minutes ago. It's funny right now.
Right.
Yeah. And if you don't make it right now, then it ain't going to be funny. So that's why.
So I'm going to turn it over to Caleb real quick because Caleb's been talking since I told him you were coming on. I have no idea what this is, but he said he wants to ask you a question.
Yeah, I just want to ask you, when you got that notification that said Baker Mayfield follows you, what was your reaction? Because I saw that you posted something that said Baker Mayfield follows Tattoo Baker. He posted on your Twitter.
So what happened was he's a fake. The guy. So my let's say my CSI that I watch a lot. I think I'm 14 seasons in now. I quickly vetted him out, and he pretty much stopped talking to me. And then I was just making sure everything was legit, and it wasn't legit because his Twitter name was Baker's @ name, and it didn't make sense. Okay. So like his @ name was something different, and I was pretty surprised when it first happened, and then quickly vetted him, and it was done.
I figured I was okay. But so at first, though, you're like, oh hell yes, and then you realize it was from my real high to real low, pretty much.
I wouldn't say that because I was at home when it happened. So it was already, I was on him, and usually when people follow me, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But when Baker, it perked my ears up, and I was like, who's this guy? Because Baker before had never liked, never shared nothing on my and if he did, awesome. If he doesn't, then awesome too. It's for the fans. So
yeah.
Definitely was vetting him at first, and there's a couple other Baker Twitters that I've talked to, and I've always ask him like, who is this?
Yeah.
Because there's like one for the Heisman, there's one for like his headband, there's a visor, there's like any body part of Baker, it's on there. Yeah. And I'm just the tattoo.
So has he ever liked any of your stuff or retweeted it or anything?
No, he hasn't.
God, that's wrong. We got to call him out on that.
Well, maybe like when he gets when he gets drafted, he can maybe do it. Because right now he has with the good boy image on, because everyone thinks he's a bad boy. So once he gets drafted, he can go and like that little nut grab video that everyone seems to love.
Which, I'm sorry. Again, we've talked about the nut grab on here. We were watching it at Buffalo Wild Wings. We almost fell out of our chairs laughing because, I know it kind of – Rob's having technical difficulties over here, but
Which is funny. I can't see where he's grabbing.
but during the game, and what gets me about the crotch grab, they make it about that it was right after the coin flip. It was later in the game,
The third quarter.
Yeah, it was in the third quarter. But every time you see it, even now, he was upset about them not shaking his hand. And they show that, and then they show it. It had nothing to do with them not shaking his hand.
I want to know why Stryker didn't tackle him right there, because he knew the Heisman was coming, and Stryker being right there. Stryker's front and center for the nut grabs.
Yeah. So I mean,
You knew something was gonna happen though, because that whole game, Baker was going back and forth. The whole defensive lineman, it was just something was gonna happen.
Yeah, it was
and
definitely chippy.
and they were in the whole game too. They were just watching them.
sorry.
Yeah, hold this.
Yeah, we'll hold it. You want us to wait on you, Rob?
Would you mind?
Rob broke his microphone stand. So, anyway, so let's with our fans or with the OU fans, what our concept is with our podcast and what we always wanted to do is invite fans like you guys on. We'll do it by phone. We'll do it in person or whatever. So we kind of like to open it up to whatever that person who's on likes to talk about. Is there anything you want to throw out? Because we had a deal on Thursday night that we were recording for Facebook Live, and for some reason the audio didn't record, which was
I bet. Yeah, having that shot or having that video, and it's gone.
and then it's gone of Caleb going over some of the defensive stuff, which it kind of cracked me up. But you want to share
I just want to say, because we've been on this our fourth podcast, and majority of the time we talk about the defense, kind of bash Mike Stoops. I just kind of want to take Mike Stoops back a little bit. I said I don't think it's all on him. I think that it's just the Big 12 defenses. Because you look at the evidence, Brent Venables left. He has the best defense in the country. Then last year, Manny Diaz, or whatever his name is, used to coach at Texas. It was terrible. Got fired halfway through the season. Went to Miami, created the turnover chain, and had one of the best defenses in the country. So I just think it's just if Mike Stoops leaves, gets fired, just don't be surprised he goes somewhere else and actually is successful, which would be frustrating. But
this coming from a guy though that during games
I yell
is
and get angry.
screaming and hollering at Mike Stoops
Well,
for having
Aren't we
10-yard cushions
Yeah.
on almost every play.
I get mad when he does a 3-man rush. That's why I get
and have an oboe back in coverage.
Yes, I get mad at that. That's the two things I really get mad at.
So, but that's not coaching.
Yeah, but it's not all that though too. It's like you watch games, they'll be in the right spot and they just can't tackle. I mean they just break tackles. And today how you practice now, you can't really work on tackling now because they only have couple full practices and you can't really tackle those practices no more.
Why does every other team tackle?
I mean, not in Big 12. Except for TCU. TCU is the only team in Big 12 that knows how to tackle.
Big 12 championship game, they didn't tackle.
They didn't tackle.
They didn't know. Well, I mean, before the Georgia game, that's what I thought we'd beat Georgia because the last 4 games this season, our defense was tackling, forcing turnovers. And that Georgia game, though, I guess Chubb's too big for him to tackle, I guess.
Well, they were trying to tackle him from behind.
Someplace.
I mean, he was 15 yards deep in the secondary, and we're trying to run him down.
I still remember one of that game. Georgia fans yelled at me. You got a little Chubb coming after you. I was like, well, we get the full thing coming after y'all today.
I will say one thing about Georgia versus OU in the Rose Bowl. The studs they had at running back were legit.
Oh, yeah.
They're both NFL players.
Yes.
Yeah, they were.
Adrian Peterson type speed, where when they hit the hole, they're gone.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you also about the Rose Bowl. We were sitting in the Georgia section, but we had a lot of OU fans.
That's pretty much the
around us.
whole Georgia. The whole stadium was Georgia section.
There was a lot more Georgia fans.
70-30 Georgia fans.
But there's a couple sitting next to me, and the guy turns around to me and goes, "Where did these guys come from?" All they had heard about was Baker. He's going to throw it all over the field on you. And Anderson and Sermon were just chomping up yards. They were like, "What? Where is this?" All we heard about was Baker. Where did you get these guys? And of course, Sermon's from Georgia. I was like, he's a freshman. He's from Georgia. How did you get him? They had no idea that we had anything other than Baker Mayfield out there.
Go ahead.
But that's a testament to OU and recruiting and Lincoln Riley and Bob, getting it. But we knew all year.
Yeah.
I said for the game, I thought the MVP of the game would be Anderson. If he won, he would have been because he broke the Rose Bowl record for rushing yards in the game. So, I thought he was going to be MVP of the game because it'd be focused all on Baker. I thought Anderson was going to go off that game, which he did, but we couldn't finish when they need the most.
Yeah, and then we had the 10-year-old kid sitting in front of us with 5 minutes left who'd obviously watched tape of our defense and turned around to me and Caleb and went, 5 minutes is a lot of time.
Yeah, this
he was like 10.
This was after the scoop and score. I'm screaming like a little girl, jumping down, freaking out. And then he goes, there's a lot of time. That's true. But still, that was awesome play. His dad's like, we got a lot of time too.
Yeah. This little 10-year-old kid turned around and went.
It's like young me right there.
Yeah. He goes, 5 minutes is a lot of time. I'm like, oh, shut up.
Were you guys? How close were you guys to the face mask on the field with Rodney Anderson? Was it on the other side?
Yeah, it
was
was
overtime.
on
I didn't know it was face mask.
No,
I didn't know about that.
It was I want to say 2.5 minutes, and Rodney got face masked, and it was like line judge was right there, didn't call it.
No, I didn't see that.
That's still the game right there if they called it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we didn't even know about that. So that's terrible.
Oh,
That's
boy.
the bad part about being there live. You don't get to see.
And we didn't watch it back because we don't watch that.
We recorded. We didn't watch it back.
Yeah, we deleted it. Came home and deleted the movie.
I'll find it. I'll find it.
Okay,
I usually
great.
find it.
But enough about the Rose Bowl in the past.
Thank you.
What we've had a little bit of discussion beforehand, but still, I want to stick on the defense because I still think the defense is our Achilles heel. I don't think the offense. I don't care, and we're going to get into quarterback talk soon. I don't think it matters who we put back there at quarterback. We've got weapons galore back there. Our defense is going to be our problem. Has been our problem. I don't agree. He's my son, and I'm going to have him drug tested. I think because Mike Stoops. I still think. Yeah, I think our schemes have been lacking against everybody this year.
I will say the injuries with scheme that he did have, and injuries that we did have. Was it Jordan? Jordan Parker went out.
Yeah,
and then
corners. We also had was it Romar? One of our best defensive linemen was out. He broke his neck.
Yeah.
So
and then a couple more secondaries that got hurt. I think a culture too with Bookie this year.
Yeah,
it's going to be holding people accountable. I'm not saying that defensive players last year didn't hold people accountable, but I think when you have a guy like Bookie and you have like veteran leadership that we do have, I think a lot of people are going to buy in more. Hey, we were at least number 3, number 2 in the nation last year. We can get back there. Even though Baker's not there anymore, we got Bookie, we got other
increased defensive line play this year. I'm telling you, it's going to be better than it was last year.
I will say this too. What I will blame Mike Stoops for is that what we couldn't do last year is we couldn't bench no one because we had no backups. So when someone's playing bad, they couldn't bench them because they had no one to back them up. That is a coaching problem for not recruiting wise. But we're super young, like one of the youngest teams on defense last year in the country.
Our defense is ridiculously young.
So that's one thing too.
Well, and you said transitioning from
from 3-4 to 4-3.
Yeah, it's a whole different
schemes.
Whole
we
different
don't have
scheme.
the right players for all the things yet too. So that's why last year was frustrating a lot of times. We did the 3-man front and they dropped Obo. That's why I got real mad. But still,
don't drop the best pass rusher you have
in the country. He's one of the best pass rushers in the country.
The pass coverage all the time
on third down and long.
So what's going on in that situation is the offensive coordinator on the other side is seeing what drops him into coverage.
Yeah.
And they were setting up, their play scheme was setting up in such a way that when he reads that, he's dropping back, and they know it, to keep him from rushing.
Yeah.
So if OU goes to the playoffs again this year, is Mike Stoops safe? Say we remember number 4 defense in Big 12, like top four defense Big 12. It's not as bad. Is Mike Stoops safe?
If we're the top 4 defense
in Big 12, not in the country. Like if we're top 50 in the country in defense, top 50 in the country,
we've been the top 50 in the country in defense. But if we have the number 4 defense in the country next year, we win the national championship.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it. I don't think there's any doubt.
Well, hang on though. Nothing's already in motion. With Diaco coming in, is Mike Stoops on the way out?
Mike already said that this is one of his last years. Last year, I thought he was going to go with Bob, but they kept him on for one more year, and I want to say that he's going to go gracefully.
I think he'll probably, if you think he'll retire. I don't think he'll quit, but I think he'll retire like with Bob. I think he stayed on last year too to take all the scrutiny from Lincoln, because after every game Lincoln got blamed for nothing except for the Rose Bowl. Sorry, bring it up again, but every other game though was Mike Stoops. No one ever talked bad about Lincoln. Everyone's put all the blame on Mike Stoops every game. So maybe that's a plan to take some heat off of Lincoln and just keep Mike Stoops around.
Well, what'd you say? The fellow's name that we just hired, Diaco. I think that what he's doing, somebody asked the other day, I think it was on Twitter, was, they're bringing in all these guys. Is he going to start giving up his play calling? Is Lincoln going to get up? I think that's why he's hiring these analysts, because that's what they're bringing them on as analysts, people to watch the game, not call plays, and inform him in the headsets, hey, what's going on? They're doing this, Mike's up there, or whoever your defensive coordinator is, Mike's up there calling plays. He's watching. He wants somebody in his ear telling him what's going on defensively. So if he has to say something to Mike, stop dropping guys back 10 yards. Let's put a little bit of pressure on these guys or whatever. Because I think he hired another guy that's his offensive analyst. I don't know who it is, but he's had him. I think he was there last year. But just somebody who keeps track of what's going on instead of calling plays.
Yeah, Lincoln's definitely building a machine. I like the hire that he got because he was an Iowa guy too. I'm sure Bob had his hand in that as well.
Yeah.
Not saying that
Bob's got his hands in everything, I think. With
well, I mean, you could pick worse, couldn't you?
Oh, yeah. But as far as, like I said, defensively, I think that's where our struggles are. If we can move up into the top 10 defensively, I don't think we're going to see a drop-off offensively at all. And we were talking about this before we came on started recording, is Kyler Murray or Austin Kendall.
I think it's Kyler Murray, done deal. I'm just throwing that out there, but you can go ahead.
Rob, you've been quiet today because you had a microphone mess up, but
well, it's Kyler's job now. I don't, even though they haven't announced it, we all know that he's kind of the golden child, and for good reason. Yeah. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete.
That's it for this episode with Tattoo Baker. Watch for our second episode with Tattoo and find out who he favors for the starting quarterback next year. Is it Kyler Murray or is it Austin Kendall? If you as a fan would like to be on the Sooner Football Fans podcast, just private message us on Twitter at SoonerFBFans, or you can email us at host@SoonerFootballFans.com. We'll see you next time. Boomer.